Hi, I'm Jay West. Welcome to our show called Directions. Directions is all about interviewing and talking with people who have experienced a new direction in their life or are in the process of experiencing one. And my special guest today is Beau Cluth. Beau, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
How long have we known each other?
Well, since 2019.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a good memory. I thought it was a little further back, but that's okay.
It was 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the spring of actually 2019 we met.
And how did I meet you?
You actually reached out to me,
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay.
You were talking about wanting to get into the ministry of Teen Challenge
Okay.
and meet somebody. At the time, it was Teen Challenge. And you reached out to me. We met at Hardy Coffee
Oh, yes. Hardy Coffee downtown?
in Benson.
Oh, Benson.
Strip.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was where the church was downtown for a while that you were attending. So, cool. And who's sitting next to you? Who's this?
This is my beautiful wife, Markiesha.
Hi, Markiesha.
Hello.
How are you?
Great.
Good to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
So we'll segue to Markiesha in just a couple moments, but I want you to share a little bit of history about why you were in Teen Challenge
Okay.
and how you went through completion and what happened at completion, the vision God gave you, and then we can go forward. Is that all right?
Sure. So I went through Teen Challenge. We are currently Sheepgate, a division of Adult Teen Challenge now, and I completed that program in 2018.
And where was that completion at?
It was in Omaha.
Okay, here. Okay.
Yep. So we have two parts of the program: Colfax and Omaha,
Colfax is what?
Iowa. So
Iowa.
it's
For people watching, they don't know what a
Yeah.
Colfax is.
So that's 7 months in Colfax I spent there as a student, and then you move on to Omaha, where I went through the reentry program of the side of Sheepgate and completed, and had my struggles and addiction and drugs.
And can you share what some of those were? Do you mind?
Yeah. So I had a meth and heroin addiction.
Okay. How severe was it?
I was waiting to die, if that was.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was pretty severe. Years and years of it was over 20 years. A lot of hopelessness in the end. And
How did I've never asked you this, and if you don't want to answer it, just say I don't want to answer it.
Okay.
How did you support all that kind of addiction for that many years?
Did a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing
Okay.
to support that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
To not get into great.
How did you get into Colfax, into Teen Challenge? Did somebody recommend it? Did you
Yeah.
get sentenced there? Did you just go in and say, hey, I need help?
It wasn't. Eventually, I was sentenced there. I heard initially it was through my mother.
Okay.
Someone from her church had recommended it to her, and then she told me about it.
Okay. So that was a definite directional change
Yes,
the day you entered that program.
absolutely.
Because you knew that if this didn't work, you probably were going to die, right?
I've had exhausted myself,
Mm-hmm.
and so has my family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now you're out on the other side. How long have you been clean, free?
17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Almost 8 years. 8 years.
Praise the Lord. 8 years.
Praise God.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Feels great.
Now you'd rather live than die?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have something to live for.
Absolutely.
She's sitting next to you.
She is.
So tell about what completion is and what happened there.
Yeah. So at completion, I, at the end of the year program, it's a year-long program, the ministry there, and I completed, and
But it's not a calendar year. It's from when you enter, right?
yes, right.
So there's people entering and leaving all the time.
Yeah, it's a minimum a year.
Okay.
Right. So sometimes you go a little longer, depending on how things go for you and where we feel everybody's at, and we don't
Okay.
want to let somebody complete that's not ready.
Sure.
Absolutely. We
Okay.
want to set them up to succeed the best we can.
Right.
Yep.
So at completion, which was here in Omaha,
It was actually the
Or in
completion was
Colfax.
we go back to Colfax for the completion
because when I was pastoring Kingdom Encounters, some of the completions were held at our church.
because it was during COVID, and
No, it was before COVID because I wasn't pastoring during COVID. Well, I was, but actually prior to COVID, we have pictures, 2018, 2019.
yeah, I that's all I remember. I thought
Okay.
we weren't doing them in Colfax because of the COVID
Okay, that's all right.
restrictions
Yeah.
and not meeting and going back there as such a
Sure.
big group.
Okay.
Um,
Maybe you brought the group over and just one completed. I don't know, but
yeah, I know
There
we
was-
had one there, and we had
Yeah.
another one at another church here in
Sure.
Omaha.
okay.
But
So
yeah, you did open your doors up.
completion, and they prayed over you.
Yeah, there was a. So actually, the vision I had was actually pre-completion. It was
Okay.
right before completion.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I had given my life to the Lord And
So that's a directional change.
yeah, absolutely.
When did that happen?
In my first 2 months there,
Okay.
I was experiencing things that I saw guys walking around and people that were working there talking to me about freedom, and I truly believed that they were walking in it, and I wanted what they had. And so I was had given my life to the Lord, and it was a very emotional morning for me. I really felt the presence of God in my life that day, and that I was forgiven.
So let's go back just for a second. Heroin and meth, how many years would you say you were involved in that?
22.
22 years, and now 8 years free from that.
Yeah.
22 versus 8, which did you like better?
Oh, definitely the 8.
Okay.
Definitely the 8.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so the power of God worked in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're watching and you're thinking, I got an addiction, I wonder if God can help me. Absolutely. We'll pray into that near the end of the show. So,
Yep.
yeah. Okay. So what was the vision?
All right. So I was crying. I remember I was at the altar and I had given my life to the Lord, and I stood up and went back to my chair where I was sitting, and I had a guy, one of the staff members, his name was Justin, came up to me. He goes, "Hey man," he goes, "what are you feeling right now?" I said, "Man, I feel free. I feel forgiven. I believe God is, Jesus is a real deal." And he goes, "Hey man, I'm so happy to hear this." He goes, "Let me pray for you." And he puts his hand on my heart, and he's standing in front of me. I'm praying, and he was just thanking God for what was being revealed to me. And he said that I know someday you have a beautiful family. And in that word family, I actually had a vision of a woman with really dark hair, and I couldn't see her face, and I knew that God had a great plan for my life, and that was it was a vision that I had my eyes closed at the time, and it was almost projected on the inside of my forehead, if I could even try to explain it.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And
didn't know you had a movie thing going
yeah,
on.
right. It was. I mean, my eyes are. So I could say. Let me say it this way. It was the back of my eyelids. Like
Okay.
it was a flash picture, and
Yeah.
it was very clear and distinct. And I remember that wasn't wife. It was just family, and I knew there was somebody that God had for me in that moment.
Sure.
And I went on for a few years, not looking. Yeah, because I always went back to that. I'm like, well, if God showed me that, then He'll bring that around in time. Whoever that is, it could have been I'm guessing at the time I don't know, so I knew it had to have been a wife or a woman. And do you want me to get into
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. That's what I want.
So,
That's why we're here, because I want her to talk.
Yeah. So as a student in going through the ministry of Sheepgate and Adult and Teen Challenge, we go to church on Sundays, and I started going to a church called Freedom here in Omaha under Pastor Jeff Booth. I know we're
Right.
mutual friends, and started to go to church there. And I, like I said, I wasn't looking for, and I went through that whole 5 months going to Freedom. I completed, and I stayed on as an intern. So Sheepgate asked me to stay on as an intern, so I came on as an intern. I continued to go to Freedom. Pastor Jeff approached me about sharing my testimony to the youth group, and so I said, yeah, sure, I would love to do that. And that night I shared my testimony, and her son, our now son, Phoenix, was there. So, and she was actually running out. I saw her come in, and she left. I didn't know where she went, but then she came back with a bunch of pizzas, right? But she came in and through the door with these pizzas, and I was leaning against a pillar, and
Did you get a word? He was hungry. No.
yeah. And I saw her, and my eyes were open to her, and the Lord spoke to me and said, "Hey, that's who I showed you."
Really? Wow.
And so I would say the rest is history. There's some other details involved in that, but
Did he ask you out?
No.
He never asked you out?
Eventually, but not then.
no,
Yes.
not at that moment.
No,
It wasn't
I-
like,
yeah.
there was this beautiful woman in front of me, and I'm not a person that's ever going to walk up to somebody and be like, "Oh, you want to hang out? You want to date?" Like, that's just not my character. Like, I just couldn't do that anyway. I'm not that bold when it comes to like talking to women.
Yeah.
So the story goes like this. So I approached, some weeks went by, like probably a month, and I approached Pastor Jeff. I said, "Hey, there's this girl I kind of was curious about, and do you know anything about her?" And he goes, "Can I ask who?" I said, "Yeah." I go, "This is her." And he goes, "Oh yeah, she does my hair, and I'll definitely talk to her." I don't think she's involved. You know, she was just kind of telling me. And
You do Pastor Jeff's hair, or did?
Yeah, I did everyone at the church.
Oh,
Pretty
okay.
much.
Wow.
Pretty much, yeah.
I had no idea. Do you do his?
Yeah.
Good job.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
so he talked to her about it. You know, I don't know what he's exactly said to her, but they had a conversation. He came back to me. He goes, "Hey, man, you're good to go." He goes, "You can, you know." And time went by. I didn't go up again. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I got to approach this woman." And if he's saying yes, I got to make the step. And you know, I'm just nervous. And so I eventually went up to her and I asked her. I said, "Hey, would you want to, you know, maybe go hang out, grab a movie, or you know, just talk, and get to know each other a little bit?" She said yes.
Now, during this time, did you have any feelings for him?
Okay, so up until he shared his testimony with the youth, I might have noticed him a couple of times because we also were part of the clean ministry at our church. So we cleaned the church. Yeah, we served. So, but he was always with a bunch of guys. So they all kind of blended together to me personally. They all kind of were the same. And in my mind, he was going through the program. And, you know, the guys going through the programs, they can't date. So you don't really pay attention to those guys being a single woman.
Because you weren't the only one probably going to that church.
No, there was
That
a
was
group
a bunch.
of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time, I as an intern, I would bring a whole van full of guys. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
So when Pastor Jeff, first of all, I don't know if you know, Pastor Jeff is a jokester. He jokes around a lot. So when he came up to me, he was like, "Hey, I got a guy." You know, he said, "Did somebody ask you out?" And I go, "Pastor Jeff, stop. No one's asking me out." And so he goes, "No, I'm serious." So I said, "Who?" And he told me. So I had already met Beau from the youth, him sharing his testimony at the youth when I brought the pizza in. And then driving home with my son that night, I said, "So how was Beau's testimony?" He said, "It was pretty good, Mom. It was pretty similar to your testimony." So I go, "Oh, okay." So I introduced myself to Beau during that time. We introduced each other, like, "Oh, hey." You know, I said, I missed your testimony, but I'll watch it later because I knew people doing the sound. I said, "Make sure you guys record that for me." So when Pastor Jeff approached me and told me about it, I was like, "Yeah, tell Beau to ask me out. Sure, I'll go out with him." I think I told Pastor Jeff too. I said, "Make sure he asks me because if he says he's going to do it, he better do it."
Ooh.
See what I got to do.
Point. Yeah. See what you got to deal with. Yeah. Okay. That's kind of fun.
Don't be scared.
Are you willing to share? Because I don't know this. Are you willing to? When your son said his testimony is similar to your testimony, do you want to share a snippet of yours?
So I would say with me, when it came to drugs, I was more of, I wasn't addicted to drugs, but I partied. So the difference with that is you have people who do drugs and they're hooked, right? And then you have people who experience drugs at a young age, and it was just for the fun of it. I was very responsible with my drug use, I guess you can call it, where I did it on the weekends. I did it when I went out and hung out with my friends, but it still has a hook on you.
Oh, it has to. I'm sure you didn't tell your parents or anybody older, "Hey, I'm going to a party tonight. We're doing drugs." So, yeah.
But it was implied.
The point is some of it is hidden for a reason. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so just say I wasn't a goody-goody. I was out there partying, having a good time. And I shared my testimony with my son I shared the truth with my son. So he knew what it was like, because I can't explain to him not to do drugs if I don't explain how I know.
Absolutely, yeah.
So very honest and open with my son. I believe in explaining the truth to him. And even when I gave my life to the Lord, I know I prayed every day. You got to pray for a husband, and I prayed for a husband. And I remember praying to the Lord, saying, "I just need him to be similar to my walk. It needs to be fairly similar, so we can walk through this together with some similarities. Different, I didn't do the hard stuff, but."
How did you happen to go to Freedom? Had you been going to it? Were you there before he arrived?
I was. I was there. My cousin is LaToya Shannon. She's married to Taj Shannon. And they were the youth leaders. And so I was just invited.
I see. And
I was like, sure, you invite me to church, I'll go. But that's not my life.
Right.
But I went, and Pastor Jeff was there preaching. And something about it at that time in my life is what I needed, right?
Right.
I was sending my son to a Christian preschool, and he started asking questions at a really young age about God, and I didn't have the answers to give him.
Right.
And as a mother, I felt bad. I felt bad that I couldn't give him the answers, and I remember calling my cousin, Latoya, and explaining that to her, and she was like, you visited church whenever I invite you. She said, I challenge you. I want you to come for 4 weeks in a row. Because I would go maybe once or twice. I would come for Christmas. I would come for Easter.
Right.
She said, I challenge you to go 4 weeks in a row. And 4 weeks turned to 8, 8 turned into
And I advise
so on and so on.
two things there, Christmas and Easter. There's a lot of believers, we call them CEO Christians, Christmas, Easter, and one other Sunday, but I encourage people when they're looking for church, go 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I actually say that, and I actually say give your offering too.
Yeah.
The Bible says where your treasure is, there's your heart.
Yeah.
And if your heart's not there after 4 weeks, then say, okay, this is not the right place, then go do it again somewhere else, But any church can have a really good day or a really bad day when you visit.
Exactly.
So don't just limit it to one,
Yeah. And my cousin and I were very competitive, so she challenged me. I got to do it, right, to prove a point, and she won. So
you went on this date. How did you feel after the first date?
Oh, I liked him right away. I knew I liked him. I mean, to be honest with you, to go back to where I walked in with that pizza and I introduced myself, I heard the same thing, but I pushed it away from the Lord.
What did you hear?
I heard, that's him.
Really?
And I was like, of course that's him. You have to test the spirit, right?
Right.
We can't just go off of things we're hearing in our head. We have to test the spirit. But I felt that very strongly, and it was peace about it. It wasn't, me just wanting to have someone in my life.
Sure.
So we went on our first date, and it was great. It was easy. It was great. I think we went to the movies, and I started falling asleep.
She fell asleep
Yeah.
during the movie.
I always fall asleep, still to this day. Nap time.
Did you hold hands?
No,
not we didn't.
Not in the first
It was just a mutual meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I picked her up and took her to the movie, dropped her off at home,
That was
walked
it.
her to the front door. That was it. Said thank you, and then went home. And so that was kind of how was our first meetings.
How much later was the second date?
Week later.
Yeah, like a week later.
We were on the clock. It didn't take long. I mean, when you know it.
Yeah, it clicked right away.
Yeah.
It clicked pretty fast, and
It was really easy.
yeah, it was.
So you had the impression he's the one, you had a vision, and she's the one. So God's speaking to you in
Yeah,
subtle but direct ways,
right.
changing direction because you got married. How long did you date before you got married?
It was a little over a year. So it was like a year.
He proposed after about 6 months,
Yeah.
and then 9 months later,
Okay.
we had the wedding planned.
Yep, we got married in May.
Didn't you get married out in the country somewhere?
No, we got married
That was
at,
the
at
plan.
Freedom.
That was the plan?
Yeah.
Oh, that
But
was
the
plan.
weather.
It was just kind of weather. It had
Okay.
rained. It was really wet, so we ended up
Okay.
having at Freedom where we
Okay.
met.
Okay. I thought there was something that was planned
Yeah.
outside or. So how long have you been married now?
Since May 10th, 2019.
So almost 6 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Should have brought you. Well, I did actually, but not for that. Okay.
Right.
So how's it been?
It's been really good.
It's been good.
Yeah, it has. It's been, there's been a lot of peace. We've been through some stuff, obviously, like every marriage goes through. Raising. She has a son.
How old's your son now?
18.
18.
Okay.
He's a
So
senior.
he's no longer in preschool asking questions.
No.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he's a senior this year, and getting ready to graduate. So.
Okay. Good. And then now, when you started dating and when you got married, you were like, you didn't have the position at Sheepgate that you do now.
No, I was I was a staff member. Did a lot of the on-duty shifts, things like that.
Did you have a house at that time?
Yes.
You had your
Yes.
own place, and you were living on site.
I
right?
was living on
But
site.
you had a place too, right? Didn't you have a place?
No, so I was
Okay.
living on site at the Sheepgate house.
Okay.
I had my own room.
And just
area.
again, Sheepgate is the name of the Adult Teen Challenge. It's kind of a
Yeah, so we're Sheepgate, a division of Adult and Teen Challenge now.
Okay.
Yeah, we went through
Yeah.
a name change in the last few years.
Okay, just so, because we keep referring to that, I want the audience to understand
Yeah, it's
that.
still the same thing. We're very much part of Teen Challenge and the ministry of
And it goes all the way back to
late 50s.
the David Wilkerson started in New York City. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll make sure that everybody understands that. So you're married, and which house are you living? Are you living in your house? You living? How's this processing? Because these are directional changes.
Yeah.
How do you navigate where you're going to live and everything else?
So, I mean, it's funny now because when we met, she had bought a house and she fixed it up herself, right? When we got married, I moved out of the house, moved into the house, and then years down the road, I moved from being a staff member to being the director of the Omaha Men's Reentry Center, which I'm doing now. At that point, we moved our family to the actual site of the Sheepgate house, and I moved my wife and Phoenix. We all moved in on site together. So now we live in the house next door, and so that's a definite directional change because you're living from going away from work every night to now I'm there all the time. She's there experiencing what she's seeing, and so is Phoenix, and that was a big step. I know there was a lot of I don't want to leave our house to go do this.
Right.
There's a lot of, just a lot of emotions and feelings that come with that. But once we got there, I knew I wanted to, and I felt good about it. And I knew that once they got there, that they would, you'd feel a lot more comfortable.
Sure.
Right? Because you're like, you got to leave our house and move next door and live on site. And we all really, really enjoy it living there. Yeah.
What'd you do with your house? Did you sell it or leave it?
No, we have it still for, Beau is actually transitioning some guys into it.
Yeah, we have guys that complete our program and want to stay in Omaha. We've opened our house up to them. So we have right now currently 3 men living there, and we have a 4th getting ready to move in.
You, I'm just curious, are they paying you rent or is that?
Yep.
So that helps pay your payments and other utilities and other things.
Yep.
Okay. So now you've transitioned and you're actually making some money.
Yeah,
you have a place to live and making money on the side in another way because you're building equity in your house.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't want to sell it. That was kind of the thing. We wanted to find the right renters, and we kind of prayed about it, talked about what we wanted to do, and she's like,
somewhere in there though, didn't you start a new job or anything?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want to, we have about 4.5 minutes left. I want to talk about your directional changes and how your job changed and what you did and what you're doing and so on.
So, it was crazy because when Beau became the director, we had to move. Well, and we knew about it. They were getting the house ready. Well, then also for me, I had the opportunity to take over the salon I was actually working for to become the new salon owner.
Okay.
So we had a lot of changes going on through that time. And I would call it blessing. It was a lot of blessing. It was scary, but you just have to trust God, right? And I just feel like he doesn't put you in these situations if he doesn't think you can handle them. So, yeah, I became the salon owner. It's been a little over a year now, and things are just steadily moving along and going great.
What's the name of it?
So the salon was Vibe Salon and Day Spa. I changed the name to Salon 114.
Okay. And where's that located?
It's off 114th and Dodge.
Okay. All right.
Right across the street from the Stories Coffee Shop.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. I should come and get my haircut sometime.
Too, yes.
Well, I'm saying that but also in truth. My person that cuts my hair just retired.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've had it for years and years and
there
years.
you go.
Yeah.
Change of direction.
So I had somebody before her, and she was part of Eagle's Nest, and then this other lady down in Bellevue where we lived, and of course I got remarried, and now I'm living out west, so it's easy to get to that area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess it will hinge on how much you actually charge. No, I'm teasing. So anyway, so tell us about what's it like to take over a position, a new job, not a take over. What's the best way to say that? What's it like? All the transition stuff. You had to learn a lot of stuff to be the owner, right?
It was, and it was very fast. When I was asked to step into that position, they knew that they were transitioning out and rather quickly, and I wasn't the first choice. And so when they asked me, I was just like, yeah, but we had to negotiate, we had to do a lot of figuring, and it was like 30 days. They were like, we want to be out in 30 days. Now, of course, it went a little longer than that. I would say maybe up to 90, but it was very fast paced. Luckily, that's kind of how I work. I'm very I like things spontaneous. I like to move on a whim, and it actually fuels me with energy to kind of do that. But it was very stressful. I'm not gonna deny that. But it was a lot. It was a lot to learn. It was, feet to the pavement, moving quickly, and learning a lot. So, and I'm still learning.
Okay.
But
so we have almost 2 minutes left, not quite.
Okay.
What's the biggest takeaway that you share with the audience of all these multiple directional changes for both of you? What do you think? What advice would you share to people in the midst of their directional changes?
I would any direction changes. I'm going to seek the Lord first.
Yeah.
Make sure you always want to know. For me personally, that's what I'm going to do. We're gonna seek God, make sure that's the right direction that He's calling us to, and that's the best advice I could give you.
Yes, absolutely.
And what kind of confirmations do you look for?
For me personally, I have peace about it. I'm also talking to other people, seeking counsel.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do, and having peace, like, again, and just knowing, it's like you just kind of like, I feel like this is where God's pulling me, and also just to trust Him, and if it don't work out, then you know what, I'm not upset. I'm gonna continue to move forward.
Are you kind of in the same?
Absolutely.
I mean, for me, lots of times I'm looking for a scripture verse that will tie in with something, or a confirmation or a random confirmation, somebody telling me something that they don't know anything, what I'm saying? And they kind of infused into my life.
Sure.
Hey, Jay, I sense God's doing something new in your life. I just want you to know I'm praying for you or whatever. That helps me too,
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks a lot for being on the show, both of you.
Thank you.
God bless you. Merry Christmas.
thanks, Jay.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Directions today. These two are awesome. I hope we can have them back someday. And tell them the name of your salon again.
Salon 114.
Salon 114.
Yes.
If you need a place to get your hair cut, I highly recommend it. She's a godly woman. You're going to like her. Okay. And if you need somebody that's going through some stuff or they need Teen Challenge, have them contact Beau. We'll put the information on the screen. Thanks so much, and God bless you. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.